Good morning. My name is Sheryl Stutzel, and I would like to tell you my story after adopting 2 boys from the Los Angeles County Social Services. When I was a little girl, like a lot of these little girls here today, I always dreamed about growing up and starting my own family, and I knew even then I was going to adopt. I would tell all my friends when we would sit around and dream about our husbands and our kids someday, and I would say, I'm going to have 2 kids, and then I'm going to adopt 2 kids. Looking back, I think that was God just planting that on my heart. He knew the plan that he had for me. He was preparing me for what he had in store. When I met my husband, I was a divorced single mom with 2 kids, but I still had my dream of adopting. We talked about it, my husband and I. We talked about it for years. We went back and forth. At one point, we even went to an informational meeting. But as time went by, our kids started getting a little bit older, and it didn't feel like a good time for our family. I started to doubt. I thought, maybe this wasn't God's plan for me after all. Then one day, I got a call from my mom. She told me about 2 brothers. They were in the foster care system, and they were looking for a home. They were 6 and 2 years old, and they had been bounced to 3 different foster homes over the course of a year and a half. She knew that we had talked about adopting for years, and she thought, maybe we could take them in? I hung up the phone, and I sat down with my husband, who quite honestly at this point had been pretty adamant that we didn't need to take on the responsibility of adopting kids and that our family was perfect, just the way it was. I told him about these 2 boys, and without hesitation, immediately he said, we have to take them. When the boys first came to live with us, they were overwhelmed by trauma. Tristan was 6 years old, and understandably, he was mad at the world. He came from a place where drug addiction, domestic violence, and abuse were his norm. In his previous foster homes, he had put a baseball bat through a window. He had screaming outbursts and horrific night terrors. He woke up every night for 6 months straight, screaming as he relived the horrors in his nightmares. Tristan was diagnosed with PTSD when he came to live with us. We often think of PTSD as something soldiers experience after war. Tristan had been fighting battles of his own. The trauma he endured led to flashbacks, fear, and intense emotional reactions. David, our littlest, was only 2, and he came with us diagnosed with attachment disorder. For those of you that don't know, this is where children disassociate from others because they haven't been held or loved. When he came to live with us, David cried all day, every day. All he did was cry and cry. He couldn't be comforted. He hadn't learned to be soothed by a mother's hug or a sweet lullaby. Over time, though, he stopped crying, and he started to bond. And with that, though, came the fear of loss. I couldn't even leave the room without him asking, "You come back?" In his life, everyone had left him over and over again. Believe it or not, my boys are the lucky ones. They found a forever family. Today, Tristan is a freshman at Chico State University, and David is a starting football player at Templeton High School. Thank you. The children attending Royal Family Kids Camp are ages 7 to 11. This is an especially pivotal age because they're old enough to realize they're considered unadoptable by social services standards. These children understand that older kids are passed over for adoption. They aren't babies who will grow up without memories of their past. They remember their biological families and the trauma that led them to being removed from their homes. These children feel alone and abandoned, but Royal Family Kids Camp gives them a chance to feel loved and accepted, for many of them, for the very first time in their lives. My hope and prayer today is that you understand something very important. You may never foster a child. You may never adopt. But that does not mean that you cannot change a child's life. Sometimes healing begins with something as simple as one safe week. 1 week where a child is told they matter. 1 week where they are laughed with instead of yelled at. 1 week where they can simply be a kid. The volunteers at Royal Family Kids Camp are planting seeds these children may carry for the rest of their lives. Seeds of trust, seeds of safety, seeds of God's love. I know firsthand how deeply wounded these children can be, but I also know firsthand how resilient they are when someone chooses to love them consistently. Today, my boys are thriving not because the beginning was easy, but because people stepped in when they needed it most. And that is why your support matters. Your donation today helps provide camp experiences, mentoring, and moments these children will never forget. Moments that tell them you are seen, you are valuable, you are worthy of love. I truly believe God changes lives through ordinary people willing to say yes. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for supporting Royal Family Kids Camp, and thank you for helping give foster children hope for a brighter future. God bless you all.